at home, and the First Lady of Haiti
my
has been
goodness.
hospitalized. A group of unidentified people attacked his private residence, according to the country's interim prime minister. This comes amid
My
deepening
friend is there.
economic stability in Haiti and a spike.
We have Reverend Johnson.
Okay, thank
Again,
you.
Haitian President Jovenel Moise
Okay.
has been killed.
So we've
Tropical
got.
storm Elsa isn't
All right,
just
honey.
bothering Florida,
Be safe.
so forecasters.
We'll
It's
talk later. Thank you, too.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Johnson.
Have a great show.
Thank you, hon.
Morning.
Hi, how are you?
Expected to make landfall
I
this
am
morning.
well. How are you?
I am doing fine. Just found out that the president of Haiti was just assassinated.
Storm with strong rains and wind.
Moise,
Found out what?
Georgia, the
the president of Haiti. Can you turn that down just a bit?
Schools and government offices in the Tampa area.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the president of Haiti was just.
AM radio. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just heard it. So there's that. Okay. So let me pull that story. Moise. Yep. Okay.
I missed you yesterday, but I'm glad you had a day off.
No, I needed it. I didn't realize, this is,
2 days off.
well, I didn't, actually I worked right on through, but it was, good. This is a lot to do, every day. And it can be just, I was told by some people who are very big in this space that I needed to space things out. I don't understand what they were talking about. Because it's a lot. Hey, everybody.
I don't know if you remember Mother Ham from Fellowship. Okay. Well, she used to always say, well, now you just can't tell it all.
No, you can't. I remember that.
Yeah, when the preacher would be up there too long.
Oh, yeah.
That's what she would holler out.
Oh, yeah. I remember Mother Ham. Who doesn't remember Mother Ham in her nurse's uniform? Love that woman. And her whole family. Gee whiz.
Yes, the whole family.
The whole family.
Big family.
Yes. So let me just get this.
WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Okay.
Now, your WCPT 820 Chicago traffic update.
Okay.
Stevenson inbound getting heavier between Central and Pulaski and this full Dan Ryan entrance ramp. 355 Glacier Drive 25, it's 18 from the Tri-State, and the Dan Ryan inbound is slowing from the Chinatown ramp to 18. 95th Street and Woodburn Interchange 14 minutes. Express lanes inbound are slow from 31st to the Stevenson, and the Bishop Ford inbound is slow from Cottage Grove to the Dan Ryan. That's traffic. I'm Julie Promise.
Progressive presents an interview with your upstairs neighbor.
Hi, I'm Tia. The upstairs downstairs neighbor dynamic is so special. We have our own language. Like when downstairs being on the ceiling.
It sounds fine.
Okay. That's why we get everybody up, so we can make sure that you are satisfied with the sound. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm trying to pull a few last minute pieces together here. Oh, okay, got that. Okay, great. Let me just turn this
1
phone.
minute away.
Of course, you're talking about Shakari, excuse me. She did correct that sports reporter, and I appreciated that. Bless her heart. Yes, she did. They were like, Shakari. She said, no, it's Shakari. In between deep intakes of breath, I said, my girl, I like this girl. I like her. And
30.
okay. And the Delta variant, that's how you can protect yourself, everybody. So let's get right to it.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
I need you to turn that up just a bit, Paul. Thanks.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Determined, unstoppable, achieving the impossible. We're standing tall with our heads held high. We are victorious.
Hey. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, back from holiday. It is Wednesday, July 7, 2021. I hope you had a marvelous holiday, beautiful weather, all that, at least here in Chicago and Minneapolis, St. Paul, but very hot throughout the rest of the country. So praying for our brothers and sisters, not just in the United States, but all over the world. It's just, this weather is extreme, but I hope that you had a wonderful holiday. I hope that you were safe. Of course, we're going to be talking about this Delta variant that is, according to news reports, that is spreading in a lot of places. But you know what's also spreading? COVID amongst vaccinated people. So we're going to be talking with Dr. Shanina Knighton about that and what you can do to protect yourself. Remember, these shots do not prevent you from getting COVID. They do not prevent you from spreading COVID. What they can do is prevent death, which is very, very important. So, but we've got to talk about how you can protect yourself, and why this is happening. There's a particularly interesting case out of Israel that we're going to be talking about, where a young person went back to the high school infected. Vaccinated person went to high school and infected 75 people, and this child had gotten it from a relative who had just come in from London, but the relative had been vaccinated. You got to find out, what is going on and exactly what we need to do to protect ourselves. And of course, Sha'Carri Richardson, that brilliant runner, kicked off of the Olympic team. She now will not even be able to participate in the relays. Well, because of her failed drug test, she will. The race that we saw that thrilled us so just more than a week ago, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. I think it was like the sixth fastest time in history. Of course, Flojo was number one. So we're going to be talking about that. Are black athletes drug tested more than other athletes? Serena Williams thinks so. Remember when the drug testers showed up at her home? Indeed, she is tested for drugs twice more than the rest of her fellow tennis stars. She's the biggest person in the game, and they test her more than anybody. What is that about? And of course, NFL players have charged racial bias, but we need to talk about that. Now, I also want to look at Sha'Carri and how she absorbed this blow. She appeared to absorb it with such grace and such strength. And that's something to think about. So we got to talk about a lot of stuff today. What do you think about the rules? Should they have bent the rules, or should we now take another look at these rules? Because the place where she did smoke the marijuana, it's legal. And now you have a lot of people in Oregon, uh, these young white kids who become entrepreneurs, and they're making money while a lot of people are in prison, black and brown kids, so who are now no longer kids. So we got a lot to unpack today on the Santita Jackson Show. What do you think about all of this? What do you think about all of this? But I have to tell you, to me, the ultimate measure of her character is that she uh, handled this with such grace, and she accepted full responsibility for everything. I love it. I love her. I love this girl. I love this girl. But you can't be the best in the world at what you do, and she is that, and not be tough. And she is that, but she is also tender, which is what's wonderful. So let's get to some of these headlines so that we can get to the good news from Reverend Vicki Johnson, everybody. Chicago, it's going to have thunderstorms today. A high of 83 degrees. It's still muggy. Oh my gosh. Minneapolis, St. Paul, partly cloudy. Of course, I'm coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Call me at 773 9278 773 763 WCPT. If you text me, GWC and Drew Lawyers is to thank them for that. But I want to hear your voices today. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Of course, the Nasdaq closed up 24 points yesterday, but the S&P and the Dow, well, they took some hits. The Dow fell 208 points. The S&P went down 8 points. Well, the Sox faced off against the Twins yesterday. Wow. The White Sox 4, the Twins 1, and, well, the Phillies were triumphant over the Cubs. The Phillies 15, the Cubs 10. What a high scoring game. And the finals, NBA championships. Oh, these are always so exciting. The Suns 118 and the Bucks 105. Top stories today. Well, we are looking at the Delta variant. Now it makes up more than half of U.S. coronavirus cases, according to the CDC. And among the hardest hit places, Southwest Missouri, where a COVID-19 surge team is deploying to deal with hospital overflow. So what do you think about that? What do you think about them going door to door? That is what's beginning to happen. People are now being deployed door to door to give you your shots. Would you take it? Do you feel it's a violation of privacy, or do you think that this is government caring about you? Something to think about. The condo collapse in Surfside, Florida. How tragic. Search and rescue efforts at the site of the condo collapse will continue in full force, even as Tropical Storm Elsa brought wind and rains to the area. Crews recovered 4 more bodies, even as they collapsed the rest of the building. Wow. And Elsa has made landfall, and it is, but they expect it to wreak more havoc in the northern part of the state and into Savannah, Georgia, which has already been inundated with a lot of water, everybody. Carrie Richardson has broken her silence after being left out of the Olympics. That's right. She said the attention that is on track now was because of very, very few names. So that's where fan support lay. You can't be mad at that. How gracious is she, everybody? So what do you think about that? What do you think about Sha'Carri Richardson? Call me, text me, 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Sadly, over the weekend, there were hundreds of casualties reported in shootings across the United States. Across the 4th of July weekend, 233 people approximately were killed and the U.S. and hundreds more were injured. What happened, everybody? 5 p.m. Friday through Monday. What is going on, everybody? Nicole Hannah Jones. I'm so excited about this. She and Casey joined the Howard University faculty. I'm Howard. I fully disclose. I love it, love it, love it. But of course, she is the Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who established the 1619 Project at the New York Times. Magnificent project. And she has been hailed and assailed at the same time. And she was going back to her alma mater, UNC Chapel Hill. At least that's what she was thought. That's what she thought. She was talked into it. And it turns out, just as she was about to accept her fully tenured position, a wealthy conservative member of the Board of Trustees shot down that opportunity for her. And on and on and on it went. And when they finally came around, it's been a big fight, everybody. It turns out she said, no, thank you. I'm going to go to Howard University. Wow. That's right. She's going to go there, and she and Ta-Nehisi Coates, award-winning essayist and author, they will be joining that faculty. And I can tell you right now, so many of these HBCU students are so excited, just as they are excited at Jackson State to have Deion Sanders. And I am so excited. She said, HBCUs punch above their weight. That is, we produce most of the Black professionals in the United States. And she said, it's time that we change, to paraphrase her, we change our standards of success. The standard of success doesn't have to be Harvard. It can be Howard. It can be North Carolina A&T. It can be these HBCUs, the Morehouses, because indeed those are the schools that produced our leadership. Eric Adams declared winner of the New York City Democratic mayoral race. Now, many people feel that because he's won this primary, the ranked choice primary, that he's a shoo-in to be mayor when he runs for the seat in the fall. We will see, but it turns out he came out on top. Congratulations to Eric Adams in a leaked video. A GOP congressman said something that many of us believe. He admits that his party wants chaos and the inability to, quote, get stuff done. This is Texas Congressman Chip Roy openly admitting that his party wants 18 more months of chaos and the inability to get stuff done. Everybody, please get registered to vote. Virginia Bible Study Group was a cover for violent militia plans, according to prosecutors. After storming the Capitol on January 6th, a Northern Virginia man began forming his own militia-like group in the D.C. suburbs. Um, and guess what? He did it under the cover of studying the Bible. What do you think of that, everybody? And of course, Senator Warren and Congressman Ro Khanna, who will be on the show in a few days, is demanding a probe. They're both demanding a probe into the undercounting of civilians killed by the U.S. military. All right. Whew, there's just so much going on. Pastor Vicky, I'm so glad to hear your voice today, and thank you for saying that you missed me yesterday. I missed you too. A little bit of rest. I needed it.
Yes, definitely you needed that rest, and I'm glad you got it too. But we still missed you.
Thank you so much. Oh, but we need some good news. So many people, I don't know what's going on with the violence in America, but Dr. King talked about this so long ago. That's why he was such a proponent of nonviolence. But there's just so much going on, so much for which we should be grateful, and so much of which we should be mindful. What's the good news today?
Well, first, I'd like to say good morning to the Santita Jackson stars and friends all over the globe. There is some good news today. When I was a little girl, my mother enrolled me in the Dr. Seuss book club. Every month, a new book would arrive at our door. I would tear open the box and cradle the book, flipping through each page, sounding out words, and looking at the pictures. Two books in particular were so frustrating for me, not because of the degree of difficulty, but due to the storyline. Some of you might be familiar with them. The Cat in the Hat and The Cat in the Hat Comes Back. Sally and her brother are left home by their mother, and the Cat in the Hat shows up to have some fun on a rainy day. Sally, her brother, and the fish tell the Cat in the Hat to leave, but he refuses. And not only does he stay, but he brings out thing 1 and thing 2 for more fun. The house is a mess, and Mother will be home soon. The Cat in the Hat pulls out a contraption from out of nowhere that cleans the house. And when Mother arrives, the Cat in the Hat is gone, and all is well. If only life could be so easy. If only a contraption from out of nowhere could clean up the messes that we've made or that we have allowed someone else to make. Life is not that easy. But when we mess up, we have to clean it up. First, let's pull out thing 1. Thing 1 says we should assume responsibility for our actions. Blaming others won't change a thing. Secondly, pull out thing 2 and look for the good even in the mess. It's bound to be some there. And thirdly, since I am a preacher, Dr. Seuss did not have a thing 3, but since I am a preacher, there's got to be a thing 3.
Yes.
And that is turn your mess into a message. Don't get frustrated as I did with the Cat in the Hat. I was mad at Sally. I was mad at her brother. And I was certainly furious with the cat in the hat. Don't do that. Look at your experience through different eyes so that as you share it with others, they will get the message that was found in your mess. If you can do this, then to me, that's good news.
Finding the message in your mess. Whew, you sound like you've been around Reverend Jesse Jackson for a minute. But
One
was
of
the
my
truth.
greatest influences.
I mean,
Yes.
but it's true because there is a message in the mess. And I think that's probably the theme today. I mean, as we're looking at Sha'Carri Richardson, just, I have so much respect for this young lady owning, owning, um, owning what happened or owning what she did. But I think there are a lot of other questions that we need to ask too, and perhaps that begs um, a deeper discussion about, there were our parents' generation before. If people saw a big future for you, they would protect you. And I'm just wondering why her friends did not protect her. It's just something. I think there's a lot that we've got to look at and think about, and so it's just something to think about. But there is a message in the message. I mean, there's a message in the mess. Always, always, always. And I want to thank you for that. Message, message, message. Of course, you can go be with Pastor Vicki Johnson. In fact, at 8,000, 80th and Jeffrey here in Chicago, at the St. Thomas Lutheran Church, they are worshiping in person, and that's from 11:45 to 12:15 on Sundays.
Yes.
In the courtyard.
In the courtyard.
Right.
Yes,
That's important. That's important. Blessings to you, Pastor Johnson. I'm sending you much love, much, 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 much love.
Blessings to you, Santita.
Hey,
have a great show.
That's right. Find the message in the mess, everybody. Dr. Knight, registered nurse, PhD, infection preventionist, someone who's helping us to wend our way through all that we are dealing with the pandemic, even as we are reopening everybody. The pandemic, we're still in it. Everybody was still in it. And we're seeing breakthrough cases. We're seeing people who've been vaccinated, according to Maryland information reported by the state government, that 100% of the people who have died from COVID were not vaccinated. They say 100% of residents who died of COVID were not vaccinated, and we're now beginning to see a push to have people immunized, to get people shots. They're literally going to start going from door to door, even here in Chicago. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see. But first of all, how are you, Dr. Knighton?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm so glad to hear your voice, and I'm so glad to be back with you once again. I just have to find out from you first before we get into this this case that happened in Israel. I think it's something for us to think about as we're looking at this Delta variant that is supposed to be more transmissible than the first iterations, if you will, of COVID-19. Going door to door, do you think that's going to be helpful?
So the problem door to door to give out vaccines, we still have to be conscious that every life matters. And even though it is rare that people may have adverse effects from the vaccine, these are still lives and every life matters. We have to be conscious of that when we're talking about everyone needs to be vaccinated. So I don't think the door-to-door strategy would quite work as well, considering that people still do have human rights, as well as the fact that it is still their choice. We're still in an emergency use authorization state. The other issue is that, just as I mentioned before, and I had been saying this a while ago, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because we don't know how long the vaccine will last. And now I feel like we're starting to see that in regards to what is called breakthrough cases. This is not a phenomena whatsoever. You know, when even though you get the flu vaccine, the goal is for it to lower the severity of signs and symptoms and possibly death. So it was never intended to prevent COVID. It was intended to prevent asymptomatic COVID. And that is something that I feel the media misconstrued to where people are being even more distrustful.
Well, yeah, because even though there were some people, like the head of Merck, who said Americans are not being well served because they're being told that the vaccine will be a silver bullet. He said that's not true. That's not what's going to happen. People still feel when they hear vaccine. You know, when you hear vaccine, because some people are saying this were old enough to remember the polio scare, which I don't remember. You weren't even born. When you hear vaccine, you think that you've been immunized, inoculated. I can't get this. And we're finding out that that's not true. And so we've not been told, um, we, well, I don't think that people have been clear. I don't think that the messengers have been clear. They have been, and they've not talked about therapeutics, which I think is a problem, because if you get COVID, the shots are not going to help you. And in fact, we're being told that if you've had COVID, maybe you don't need the shots. Maybe you have enough antibodies to get you through for a few months. And then we're finding out, we get a lot of very interesting information out of Israel, because they're one of the most vaccinated places on earth. There's an Israeli study this just came out in Newsweek, that shows that the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine appears to be only 64% effective against preventing symptoms from the Delta COVID-19 variant. Now, it still remains highly effective, according to this report, at preventing serious illness and hospitalizations. But that's quite a drop from 94% to 64%. What do you think happened, or will it take us time to find out?
So I still think the issue is
1 minute.
that we're saying that we understand it's not the silver bullet, but we still have a silver bullet mindset. So everyone's like, oh, wow, it's surprising. Like, why doesn't this protect against this strain or this variant? But we still have to remember, even as it was with the flu, it was not intended to protect against something that is brand new. We're lucky that it provides some protection against this new variant, but it was never intended to protect against this new variant. Many people also have to look at the flu vaccine and realize that, again, when people say, I'm not getting no flu shot, why I got to take it every year?
15.
And someone tells you why you have to take it every year, because just like we change, the strains continue to evolve. You have to understand.
Well, no, hold on. When we get on the other side, I want you to explain that, because we are not clear yet. COVID-19 and the breakthrough viruses, everybody. Got an interesting story out of Israel to tell you about. Wow, wow, wow. This is why you still need to mask people, even if you have gotten the shots. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Whew. Whew. Shanina, it's just too much. I mean, you know, before I get on the air, it's hard for me to pull off of pulling information, right? And you just bump into all this new stuff, right? It's just like, whoa. and we're still, I mean, I hear you, what you're saying. The mindset is still off. We've not been told. What you just said, the asymptomatic, what did you just say about the asymptomatic virus and what these shots do?
So it's supposed to, the intent of the vaccines was to decrease hospitalization. So our healthcare system was already overwhelmed. People were dying because of severity of COVID or having symptomatic COVID. So these therapeutics was intended to decrease the severity of symptoms should somebody encounter COVID or decrease their chances of death. It was never intended to prevent COVID. It's never been intended to prevent COVID.
But that's not what they said. You know
That's
what?
not what the media said.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that even with the flu vaccine, and this is where I say, I kid you not, like, this is what just shows in terms of us as a country, how science is not treated as a priority. You know, science literacy.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about vaccine or health literacy is not treated as a priority. Because when we look at even just the flu vaccine itself tells us how things work. The chickenpox vaccine, when individuals got the vaccine, they knew that they were getting the vaccine so they would not have symptomatic chickenpox. So it's not intended to prevent. It's intended that should you encounter it, you won't have symptoms associated with it or severe symptoms.
Well, we are going to, you're going to explain this to us, and we're going to talk about this case in Israel that I think is, it'll be a little surprising to everybody. But you know what? I think that when we talk about these issues, you know, knowledge is empowering. It's not just power, it's empowering. And when you find out that vaccinated people can pass this along, I think it will help everybody to become more careful. Because a lot of people, Dr. Knighton, they're not being careful.
Yeah.
You know, you know.
Like I have been, and even like with the infographics, you know, because I still do educational materials, I still emphasize on the infographics. You can still get infected with COVID. However, if you have these conditions, this can prevent you from having severe symptoms, which may require you to be hospitalized or death.
Well, you know what? Just look at your watch. We're going to be out at 57 after the hour, just so that you know. But I'm going to read a portion of this story, and then I want you, of course, to react to it, the one that I shared with you, because it's.
Okay, that's fine. It's so crazy because I don't eat cheese. And when I tell you I made macaroni and cheese for them over the weekend, and oh my gosh, like, it's killing my respiratory system.
No.
I'll never do it again.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Never do it again.
Whew. Oh my gosh, girl, and I love cheese. Well, I mean, you can love it and still not work for you. So how about that?
5.
So how about that?
And that's exactly what happened.
Oh.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Determined, unstoppable, achieving the impossible. We're standing tall with our heads held high. We are victorious.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. My morning stars, Carol Crowley, Big Bree, Brian, Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia, Raphael, sending you much love, my sweet, R.A. Araya, and John Boyer, and Barbara Bacon. Everybody like and share, Linda, and Andre, and Fatou from Gambia, Linda, Michael, and my sweet Louis, or is it Louis Chewy Russell? Was it Louis Chewy? I don't know. Let me know. Carol, Jewel, and Weta Davis, and Princess Dana. I love it. I love it. Please, everybody, Joyce, Mark, everybody, like and share, like and share, like and share, like and share. You know, we're going to be talking about Sha'Carri Richardson at the top of the hour. We're going to be breaking that down. Are black athletes tested more frequently than white athletes? What do you make of the decision to leave her off the Olympic team completely? What do you think about this? Wow. 773-763-9278. But look at this story. This comes from the Times of Israel. Israeli officials are set to weigh reinstating some virus restrictions as the highly contagious COVID-19 Delta variant continues to spread in the country. The recently Renewed coronavirus cabinet is expected to meet this week to consider Israel's next steps. They met last week to discuss increased testing and on and on. Well, this is in response to maybe what is quite a case. At least 75 high school pupils were confirmed to have contracted the virus at a Tel Aviv end of year party. These high school students, of course, they're going to get together and hang out, right? After a student was infected by a vaccinated relative. That relative contracted the virus from another vaccinated individual who had recently returned from London. Wow. What do you think about that, everybody? I mean, vaccinated people infecting vaccinated people, and on and on and on and on and on it goes. Um, should the kids have had a party? Since we're still in the midst of the pandemic, should even vaccinated people be taking precautions? You don't know what someone's status is half the time. We don't know who's going to be testing themselves every day. Dr. Shanina Knighton, what do you make of this case?
I'm not surprised. I'm not. It's crazy because in previous times, it's actually been me and Dr. Deb both saying that we felt like we were moving too fast. Mm-hmm. And things were being rolled back too fast, that people were forgetting about the important parts in the toolkit, that instead of explaining to people that everything should work together, it's, the vaccines replace the hand hygiene. Hand hygiene is replaced with masks. Masks are replaced with tests. All of these things have to work together. But unfortunately, that's not the message that has been shared. And as a result of that, it's, roll back the guidelines. Everyone can go out and float around freely. And you're starting to see infection prevention guidelines be rolled back. And I don't know if you remember, but Santita, it had to be like maybe about a month or two ago where you had me on the show and you were concerned about the CDC rolling back environmental cleaning. Mm-hmm. So this does not surprise me.
It's not surprising, but it doesn't surprise you. But when I read the story, I have to tell you, I was taken aback. I said, okay, vaccinated people are infecting vaccinated people. And I was taken aback because when I speak to people who've gotten the shots here in the United States, they blithely say to you, because if someone came to my door and they needed to come in, and I said, just give me one moment because I had to put on my masks. Yes, plural. My N95 and my decorative one with a filter in it. And this person said, well, I've been vaccinated, so I'm not a problem. I'm like, honey, you could be, and I could be too. And yes, I did say that. I said, that's not, I said, that is a safeguard, but it's not the safeguard. It doesn't exist as far as we know. People they're offended, or they did not know that they could still get COVID. I mean, a lot of people feel that now that they've had the shots, they're free and clear. Please speak to that. And what should we be doing, Dr. Knighton?
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to explain to people that I do find that this is sometimes a disconnect between media and scientists, because the intent of the vaccine was never to prevent COVID. It was to prevent the severity of symptoms and death, which could lead someone to being hospitalized or overutilizing hospital resources. And as I've alluded to, with there being 330 million people in the United States and only 1 million hospital beds, the more people that are sick from COVID means that there are less resources, including hospital staff, that would have been able to take care of patients. So the vaccines were intended to decrease the severity of COVID and the possibility of death, especially for people that had chronic conditions that was increasing their risk of needing these services. Now, some people may say, well, I'm healthy, so I didn't need to get it. But the problem with this virus is we don't know what health is in the United States, considering we are one of the sickest countries, considering our our finances, okay, our per capita. So with that being said, it became a decision that everyone should get vaccinated, not just because of the possibility of us decreasing the spread of the variant, but because the definition of people being healthy is so vague. You can have someone that's thin, so not necessarily suffering from obesity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have hypertension, doesn't mean that they don't have diabetes and other things going on that could increase their risk of getting COVID. Now, when we talk about cures, this is not a cure. Just like we're still searching for a cure for cancer, this was not intended to cure COVID. And that's what we have to remember. Vaccines are not a cure. Just like the flu vaccine is not a cure. Flu vaccine is meant to reduce the severity of symptoms of the flu strains that are prevalent for that flu season. That starts to wear off. That starts to wear off within 7 months of you getting the flu vaccine. But it protects you during those critical months. That's why they tell you to get it between September and October, because during those winter months, they already know that there's a peak based off of what we've been seeing traditionally. In this case, we have to remember, people started getting vaccinated in December, okay? We are in July. Not to say the COVID vaccine is meant to wear off in 7 months, but it's not surprising me that it's starting to wear off. It's not surprising me that we need to keep science going and discover what other treatments, solutions, or options are out there. But until we do so, prevention is still going to continue to be the best thing. When we're talking about hand hygiene, being conscious of the company that you keep, being aware of environmental surfaces and making sure that they're clean. These things still have to happen. Mask wearing when you're in unfamiliar locations or in closed-in buildings. So we have to remember, yes, it helps to be vaccinated in terms of you not having severe symptoms of death, but it is not the end-all, be-all. And so when it comes to Israel, I'm not surprised. Is it unfortunate? Absolutely yes, because what I continue to explain, sometimes when you are in the midst of partying, we're talking about teenagers, if you're in the midst of partying as an adult and you have alcohol involved, we're still talking about shared resources and sometimes no infection control protocols put in place to keep everyone safe.
We're in the summertime, good old summertime. People want to congregate now. You know, you can't wait. You're wearing fewer clothes. The weather is warm. We're being told that if you're vaccinated, you're free to roam, right? I mean, that's essentially what we've been told. We're finding that's not true. That's not true. What should we do? Oh, and Paul, I'm getting some messages that the sound keeps breaking up. So let's look into that. Um, let's how should we navigate going to a restaurant,
So,
going to a concert, we've got the NBA finals. They had 16,000 this Dr. Knight, 16,000 people. And those players were not masked. You know.
no. And there's this false illusion of us getting back to quote unquote normal. And I think that's the issue. Because what is normal? And because of my profession, because as a human being, I'll be honest, I think I've been at this so long that when I'm out in public and I'm watching unsanitary practices occur, it's almost like my brain can see the germs traveling from one surface to another, from one person to another. And what concerns me is that people may say, oh, well, I see people masked up outside. Being outside not going to give you COVID. But if you outside at a cookout and everybody's touching the same spoon, everybody's spitting over the same table because they're shouting, over a card game, or they're just shouting because they want to talk and laugh. Those are the droplets that are going to give you COVID. Being outside isn't going to give you COVID. It's the activities that you are doing that is surrounding what it is you're doing that will make you increase your risk of getting COVID. If you're not practicing if you're not sanitizing your hands or washing your hands as often as you should, if you're not wiping down surfaces like you should, I mean, even now in stores, they're not wiping off the keypads anymore. Mm-mm. People are not conscious about after touching the materials and then touching their door handles when they get in their car. I'm seeing it happen. So when we think about the NBA Finals game, the only thing I can think about is people touching the rails, going up and down with their snacks. Mm-hmm. And then when they make it back to their seats, they forget to sanitize their hands, not conscious of the fact that hundreds and hundreds of people touch that same rail to get back to their seat after going to go get their food from the concession stand. Thinking about the fact that, yes, there are hand sanitizing stations and wash stations available, but will people know when to appropriately use them? When we're talking about concerts, I don't know about you, but any concert I've been to, I'm screaming the lyrics over the music because that's my jam. You know, I didn't just come to the concert just to be quiet, but I want to feel what's going on because that's the true essence of a concert experience. And so when you're thinking about the fact that you may not be socially distanced from somebody and that those that fit from talking is going to potentially travel and there's some safeguards in place.
What should
Thinking about the miasma or the bad air, you know, because of all of those droplets that have traveled, that are creating continuous aerosols.
We were much more conscious and conscientious just a couple of months ago. It's only when we started hearing that, okay, if you're vaccinated, we started hearing a few months ago, if you're vaccinated, mm-hmm. you can unmask, you can relax. I said, why are they doing this? They know that this doesn't prevent. I mean, if you've been vaccinated and your spouse or your partner has not been, you can walk around asymptomatic and you can infect your partner. Your partner might not get these shots for a whole host of reasons. Everybody, we've politicized this. Please stop it. You know, you have people who've made some decisions, Dr. Knighton, because they have other health issues. And they say, you know what, I'm going to hang my hat on vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and other vitamins whatever I need to do to boost my immune system. Because on a normal day, I've got some other issues that I really, heart disease is the top killer in the United States. And we're seeing these kids pop up with myocarditis, which is incurable. In fact, this comes from cdc.gov. Data from the VAERS, this is where you support the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. It's where you go to report your vaccine injury, so problems that you're having with vaccines, that in the 30-day window following the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, there was a higher number of observed than expected myocarditis and pericarditis cases in 16 to 24-year-olds. So, we're still finding out about these shots. I'm not blaming anyone, but you're now seeing more and more parents. You're seeing this, in the news. It's happening a lot. So people are talking about it. They're pushing their way in because they're saying, when I go to my doctor won't hear me. No one will hear me. What can we do to really to protect ourselves? I mean, what should we be doing? These 16,000 people who went to the NBA Finals last night, just to think about touching the rail after they went to get their hot dogs, after they went to get their popcorn, right? After they went to get their sodas, boom. And they did not stop and wash their hands before they went back to their seats. People are not pulling out that hand sanitizer the way they used to, Dr. Knighton. They're not. What can be done to heighten people's awareness of where we really are right now?
So for one, I think the messaging has to continue to be put out there. This isn't something that I've stopped doing when it comes to the vaccines, when it comes to sharing infographics. I do, still have this information even available on my website, like, up under community resources, because people don't really think about the fact that we're not in the clear. And so it's a constant reminder. I'm constantly reminding people, like, I know people may not want to hear this, but we're still in the midst of a pandemic. People may not want to hear this, but hand hygiene is still important. And so it's constantly being able to share those messages that individuals need, because we have to realize, even too, like when the holidays came up, I was reminding people, like, don't be sorry. Make sure you're cleaning your hands when you're outside. Make sure when you're cleaning your hands when engaging with loved ones. Masks can still help, with preventing the transfer of germs from surface, from your mouth to surfaces or from your mouth directly to others. So it's making sure that people understand these things are in place. However, the issue is it's been falling on deaf ears so much that it's continuing to be ignored because people were just so happy to get out of the mask. It's almost like a rebellion type thing, where you're trying to explain something to somebody to help them for their own good, but it's like they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen because it's become unpopular now. So when everyone had to wear masks, and guess what? Mask was popular. But now, because there are individuals that don't have to mask up because of these vaccines anymore, then you have people that are almost looked at crazy because they now have on masks. You're still looking at people crazy because they're sanitizing their hands. But yet I can't say that I'm proud of the increase of hand sanitizing stations that are available and the signage that's available in the public, which is not something that we've experienced before. So there are some positive things in this. It's just that I just find that even during this time, we have to remember that we are not in the clear of the pandemic and that we are nowhere near in the clear. And that just as I reminded people last fall, we're still embarking upon flu season. We are. And yes, while the numbers may have seemed to go down last year, we may not be so lucky this year with the lack of infection prevention practices that we are starting to see go away.
Well, how would you know the difference between flu and COVID?
So both of them are highly infectious respiratory diseases. And last year, it actually wasn't last year, it was last year, 2020, there is a test. So there's an actual test that differentiates the two. So when someone goes in, they can actually ask for one test, which means that they'll get one swab that can differentiate between whether or not it's flu or COVID.
Is that a home test, or would you have to go to the doctor to do that?
No. You have to go into the doctor and do it. It's a lab-based test. And so they would actually, honestly, if it was me, then I would request it. And I'm so sorry that I don't have the name of it, but I promise you I'll make sure I get it to you. It's been a long time since we've actually talked about it. But I've been letting people know about that for a year now, or over a year at this point, that does exist when differentiating the two. And I also want to tell people, because I know I talk a lot about prevention, but understand that there are going to be people that are going to encounter the virus. Like, we get that. So I want to make sure that I'm specifying that should you encounter the virus, it is not a lost cause. It does not mean stay at home and figure out what's going to happen to you. It is important that you seek out therapeutic treatment. I cannot emphasize that enough. The minute that you feel like you are starting to show signs and symptoms, you should seek out treatments. If you're having mild to moderate symptoms, you can actually call your provider and ask them about monoclonal antibody treatment options. And that can lower your chances of your symptoms getting more severe. So these are antibodies that can help your immune system recognize the virus and fight it more effectively. That is should someone encounter COVID but is not hospitalized. If you are hospitalized, there are 4 treatments that are available. And those 4 treatments that are available, like they can actually help. They can help with slowing or reducing the virus's spread to the rest of the body. And that's if you're hospitalized. So there are treatments out there. It is preferred that you seek treatment 10 days or less from the onset of any symptoms that you may have. But there are treatments out there. And so I need people to understand that just because they get COVID doesn't mean, oh, well. If you have decided that you are not going to be vaccinated, I highly suggest that if you do encounter COVID or think you have encountered COVID, you seek treatment out as soon as possible. Because if you do not, then you very well could be one of those individuals that have an increased risk of severity or death if you also have other chronic conditions and other risk factors, such as lifestyle habits, which may include smoking or an unhealthy diet.
Hmm. Everyone talks about these therapeutics. What is the monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin. I'm hearing, and that's why I read everybody. That's why I read these papers from outside of the United States, because they speak more freely about treatments for COVID. Because once you have COVID, um, they're not trying to give you the jab; they're trying to treat uh, COVID. Should we be more knowledgeable about these treatments? I have about a minute left. Because many people feel that if they get COVID, it's a death sentence. So, I've got it, and that's it. And you're saying that that's not true.
It's not true. We have to be conscious that none of us are going to be perfect. And some of us can clean our hands, do whatever it is that we are supposed to do, and it doesn't mean that we may not necessarily encounter a bad heat and ventilation and air conditioning system that can possibly transmit it in an old building. It could just be, us walking into somebody else's cloud and us not realizing it, because maybe they cough. We just never know. And so should you encounter the virus, you should know that there are treatments out there that can help you. And so this information you can find accessible. So if you type in COVID therapeutics, then you should be able to find information on these therapeutics that decrease COVID. But I just want to say that
1 minute.
There are treatments for not being hospitalized, which are the monoclonal antibody treatments, and our treatments if you are hospitalized, which has to do with the remdesivir that they talk about, the convalescent plasma, the varicitinib, and this one called it's the corticosteroid. So they actually found that helps to lower severity of symptoms as well. But that's for someone that's hospitalized. And so, just a couple of things to be conscious
20.
of.
I've got 20 seconds. Well, actually, I have 15.
Yes. So just some things to be conscious
15.
of. If anything,
10.
you need to make sure that you are washing your hands.
Okay, washing hands, and then I've got,
5.
hold on, stay right
Yes.
here on the Santita Jackson and Friends page so you can hear the second one. We're going to be talking with Sha'Carri Richardson in just a few minutes. Stay right here. Okay, it's washing our hands and what else?
Mask wearing. So I still suggest people wear masks, especially in locations where they are in doubt. I'm telling you. And at this point, like nothing, it's like assume everybody got it. Just like how we was at the beginning of the pandemic, that's where we at again.
Wow. I mean, this is, okay.
But I'm telling you, I've been sharing this message for God knows when.
But you've got to share it because you see what happened to these kids over in Tel Aviv. I mean, they're kids. And so, they're hearing you've gotten vaccinated. So, I mean, I'm not blaming these children. They're children. They're hearing from the media because we're not going to read studies. That's not what we do. Um, you've gotten vaccinated, so you're okay. So this child goes to the party. 75 people were infected, but the child had already gone infected because this child's vaccinated family infected this child. I said,
Yeah.
"Whoa, whoa, how does this happen?" And when you say this, and believe me, I've had some people to whom I am quite close, and they have said, "Well, when I get this kind of information, they get upset when I say this." I said, "Why are you upset with me? I'm trying to let you know that yeah, you've been vaccinated. Put on your mask. Keep your mask up, Dad." Because my father's almost 80 years old, and he's got Parkinson's too. Are you kidding me? Oh, it's like, Dad, come on. Yeah, y'all. Uh huh. So when you see him on Instagram and he's taking these pictures, and when people want to take pictures, he takes his mask down because that's what they want. I said, you know
Right.
what? Well, my brother said, hey, 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 and my sister said, it's not about you. You're going home to mom. Lift up that mask. Okay. He's like, wait a minute. You don't live by yourself. So it's something for us to think about, Dr. Knight. It really, really is. We've got to think about this.
No, absolutely.
And before I'm gonna,
Absolutely.
oh, it's a lot. Well, I want to do something special with you probably next Monday, um, because I've got something that I've got to go away and do. But I would like for you to give a presentation on,
We have Mr. Covington.
thank you, how we can take care of ourselves. I want you to meet Tony Covington before you go. He is NFL vet. He played UVA football. Brilliant, brilliant mind, and he's an author and motivational speaker. And I'm so excited that he's with us today as we talk about Sha'Carri's case. Tony Covington, I want you to meet this magnificent young lady. She is a young lady, an RN. She's the first person in her family to go to high school, to graduate from high school. And she's got a PhD, and she's a nurse. And she's one of the few infection preventionists in the world. And she comes on the show every morning teaching us how to not just avoid COVID, how to cope with it if we get it, but she also is helping us to prevent infections and prevent infections. I want you two inspiring, wonderful people to meet each other. Tony Covington, meet Dr. Shanina Knighton. Dr. Shanina Knighton, Tony Covington, and everybody. We've had Tony Covington on the show today. He has a fantastic new podcast. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to, what is it, the lockdown? You guys,
Yes.
it's sports, So, okay. I want everyone, because they're going to be real happy about that. It's sports, but he veers off
We
into
have
other
Mr.
things.
Littell. Attorney Hoffler just needs a few more minutes.
Okay, but it
Nice
is
to meet you, Tony.
Nice to meet you too, Doctor.
it's sports. The lockdown.
I'm actually gonna stick around for a little bit because I want to hear the thoughts on the case
Well,
too.
stay, and you know what? Feel free to weigh in, because in fact, I'd like you to weigh in on marijuana and its impact and its effects. Would you mind?
On the wrong.
Oh, oh, bless her heart, bless her heart. It's so much going on, so much going on. I got it, got it. Mr. Littell,
Yes. Good
he
morning.
he's Black Sports Online. I love it, love it, love it. And of course, we're going to have attorney C.K. Hoffler on because lawsuits are always what could happen here, but it's always good to get the legal angle. Because and I'd like to hear about the legal angle because where this young lady smoked this marijuana, it's legal to do so, even with the restrictions that the Olympic Committee has. What is it? The Olympic Committee that has the restrictions, or is it U.S. Track and Field?
It's U.S. Track and Field that is using the world's anti-drug policy. So it's U.S. Track and Field that has the final say, but they're using the rules from the anti-doping policy that's governed by the world.
All right, all right, all right. And everybody, do you all remember Suzanne Douglas? She was in Tap. She was in How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Jason's Lyric. I mean, she has been all over the place. 64 years of age. She passed away yesterday. She was in The Parenthood. Beautiful, beautiful black woman. Beautiful. And she was also a vocalist and a composer. She was going to be performing at a big series of concerts up in New York. And she's a Chicagoan, bless her heart. And she passed away yesterday. I was absolutely gobsmacked by this. You remember, if any of you saw Tap, she played Gregory Hines' girlfriend. And of course, she was in The Inkwell. She was in Jason's Lyric, How Stellar Got a Groove Back. She's been in so much. And she leaves a great body of work. And she was in When They See Us.
10.
Oh, yeah. That just broke my heart because I just love her work. You know, these people who have such majesty, they lift us all up. Stand by, everybody.
Oh,
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
determined, unstoppable, achieving the impossible. We're standing tall with our heads held high. We are victorious.
Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, Wednesday, July 7th, 2021. Was I about to have a slip of the tongue? Y'all know my birthday's on the 17th, but it's all good. I want to hear your voices, everybody. Chicago, we're going to have a high of 83 degrees and thunderstorms. Minneapolis, St. Paul, partly cloudy. Oh, my goodness, everybody. I am Santita Jackson coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Got a lot to talk about today. Sha'Carri Richardson, what do you make of that case? We're going to break it down with a brilliant, brilliant panel. And you, 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. I want to know what you think about this case. Now it turns out she's not going to be going to the Olympics at all. We were holding out hope that she, once her suspension is over, which will happen during the Olympics, that she would make the relay team. No, she has been locked out of that. And in fact, because she did not pass the drug test, that magnificent performance that earned her a spot on the Olympic team, that's been wiped out. It doesn't count. It was the sixth fastest run in history for a woman. Of course, Flojo's number one, but it was the sixth fastest run in history. But to me, she's still that girl. She's completely owned up to everything, assumed a lot of responsibility. How mature is she? But I want to know what you're thinking about this. What do you think? Do you think are black athletes tested more, drug tested more than white athletes? Simple question. Now, Serena Williams has kind of alluded to that. So, you know, she's been tested twice more than her other tennis colleagues. She's tested all the time. You remember about 3 years ago when they rolled up on her lawn and she refused to answer her door? She said, "Are you serious? You're rolling up on my house now?" Oh, no, 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 no. So it's something to think about, everybody. There are a lot of moving parts here. So let's get to the Santita Jackson show some of these headlines. The NASDAQ closed up 24 points yesterday. The Dow closed down 208 points. The S&P 500 closed down 8 points. The White Sox were triumphant over the Twins, 4-1. But the Cubs fell to the Phillies, 15-10. Wow, what a game, everybody. In the finals of the NBA, World Championships. 118 the Suns, 105 the Bucks, everybody. The Delta variant now makes up more than half of U.S. coronavirus cases, according to the CDC. Among the places with the lowest vaccination rates, we're seeing the biggest surges. And in fact, we are seeing that, according to the state of Maryland, the people who, 100% of the people who have been hospitalized have been unvaccinated. So what do you think about that? Everybody's talking about Nicole Hannah-Jones. Maybe we will talk about that tomorrow. I think that we should. Of course, she has been the Pulitzer Prize winning New York Times investigative reporter, has been in a back and forth. She had been urged to come back to her alma mater, UNC Chapel Hill, to assume tenure, a tenured position, and teach journalism. And she was about to do it. She had undergone the process of assuming tenureship. You know, you have to write up plans, you have to come before a committee of your peers, all of that. She had passed with flying colors. And then a wealthy conservative white board of trustee member shot it down. And the back and forth went for months. Finally, she said, you know what? Enough of this. It's not my job to heal the University of North Carolina, she told Gayle King in an interview yesterday. That's the job of the people in power who created this situation in the first place. So you know what she's doing? She and the award-winning author and writer, who's also an alum of Howard University, thank you very much, Ta-Nehisi Coates, they will be going to Howard University. I didn't say Harvard, I said Howard. And they will be teaching. I am so excited. She wrote very movingly because the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, thank you, Sherilyn Eiffel, represented her in her case because it became a legal case. And she said, UNC took a woman with ambition, but no practical journalism training and provided the foundation for all that I would become. And she was very, 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 very excited, very, very excited about going there. She said, but I cannot imagine working at a school named for a man who lobbied against me, who used his wealth and influence to influence the hires and ideology of the journalism school, who ignored my 20 years of journalism experience and all of my credentials, all of my work, because he believed that a project that centered Black Americans equals the denigration of white Americans. She said, no, thank you. I will be going to Howard University because as I look, she said, I will be taking a position as the inaugural night chair in race and reporting at Howard University. There, I will be creating a new initiative aimed at training aspiring journalists to cover the crisis of our democracy and bolstering journalism. I have already helped secure $15 million for this effort. And historically Black colleges and universities have long punched above their weight, she wrote, producing a disproportionate number of Black professionals who are working with disproportionately low resources. And she will be, everybody, at the Kathy Hughes School of Communications, everybody. That's right. So she said, for far too long, powerful people have expected the people that have mistreated and marginalized to sacrifice themselves to make things whole. The burden of working for racial justice is laid on the very people bearing the brunt of the injustice. And she said, I say to you, I refuse. So proud of her. Eric Adams has been declared the winner of the New York City Democratic mayoral race in their ranked choice voting system. It's going to be very, very interesting. And Texas Congressman Chip Roy has openly admitted that his party, the GOP, wants 18 more months of chaos and the inability to get stuff done. All right, everybody, opening up the phone lines. Want to hear from you. 773-763-9278. 773-763. WCPT. Text me at that number as well. The Santita Jackson Show, everybody. And of course, GWC Injury Lawyers gives you the opportunity to text there. I want to hear from you. What do you make of the Sha'Carri Richardson case? Of course, we were just riveted, not just by her run, but the sheer force of her personality, her charisma, that gift of the godly spirit, everybody, that brings you in. She has a personally compelling story. We saw her run the sixth fastest time in history, run by a woman in this 100-yard dash. And then what did she do? She ran up to the stands after she, corrected the reporter on the pronunciation of her name. And she said, no, I am that girl. That is what I'm here to show you. I'm going to do this. And she did. And she ran up into the stands and hugged her grandmother. Oh, it clutched our hearts. What many of us did not know is that in an interview just a few days before, she was sitting with the interviewer, and the interviewer dropped a bomb on her and asked her to react to the death of her biological mother. She had no idea. And so she went and smoked some marijuana because it just gobsmacked her. And she has taken full responsibility for what she did. She said, I want to take responsibility for my actions. I know what I did. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm allowed me to do, but I still made that decision. I'm not making an excuse. But she did say to hear that information about the death of her mother coming from a complete stranger, it was definitely triggering. It was definitely nerve shocking. She said it was just like, who are you to tell me that? No offense against him at all. He was just doing his job, but definitely that sent me into a state of mind, a state of emotional panic. She said, I have to go out and put out a performance for my dream, go out there and still compete. From there, just blinded by emotions, just blinded by hurting, I knew I couldn't hide myself in some type of way. I was just trying to hide my pain. So she has lost her spot on the Olympic team, not just to run her race, but she lost a spot on the 4x100 relay team. And so I want to know what you're thinking about all of this. And I ask you this question in the context of this. About 3 years ago, Serena Williams was very public about the testing that she has to endure, the drug testing. She felt particularly affronted because these drug testers showed up on her lawn, on her house, on her property to test her, just out of the blue. Now, she has been tested twice more than any other female athlete on the tour. And she calls it discrimination. She wants to know why. NFL players have said the same thing. Black players are tested more than white players. Ah, what's going on? And what do you make of how Sha'Carri Richardson handled all of this? I mean, there's so many questions. So I said, you know how it is. I try to find people who really understand these topics through and through. And so I said, let me go to Tony Covington, the author of I Am Underdog. He's a former NFL player. He played at UVA, so he's played top level football all of his life. And he's the author of the book I Am Underdog, A Journey of Adversity and Blessings. He has got a compelling story, just like Sha'Carri's. Not the same thing, but just a very compelling story. And you've got to hear his podcast, The Lockdown. Yes, everybody, it's about sports, but it's about sports and life. So much more, everybody. And, get that book, I Am Underdog. Of course, he does color commentary for the University of Virginia football. That's right, the Cavaliers, everybody. Mentor, husband, and proud father. What a wonderful human being. And I heard this man's baby crying last night when I called him to ask him to be on the show. Robert Littal. He's a famous girl dad, everybody, but he's also the founder and CEO of Black Sports Online. I urge you all to be a part of that community. Black Sports Online. Great, great, great reporting and opinion. Black Sports Online. Of course, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, president of the National Bar Association and chair of Rainbow Push. And you know what? Dr. Shanita Knighton said she was going to stick around because she wanted to learn something. And we're going to ask her some things about marijuana, too, because, of course, she's the medical professional on deck here. But let me start with you. Let me start with the reporter first. Robert Littal, what happened with Sha'Carri?
Well, in this particular situation, there's a bunch of drugs that are on this list of banned substances. And myself, just like probably all of you, wasn't even aware that marijuana was on this list because as a track athlete, marijuana is known maybe to slow you down, not to speed you up. And obviously, with it being on this banned list, when she tested positive, like you said earlier, it forfeited her result at the trials. A lot of people were asking, because, it's marijuana, what could U.S. track and field, do maybe to make an exception for this? And the main problem with that is that under those rules, they look at marijuana the same way that it would be a steroid. It's almost the same. To them, there's no difference between the two. So to make an exception for her, then in turn, people that have been suspended or tested positive for steroids would say, why didn't you make an exception, for me? And that really was the issue at hand. And it's driven a new conversation now about why is marijuana, which is legal in a lot of states, which was legal in the state that she was in at the time, why is it on this list when it's, by and large not considered a performance enhancing drug.
She smoked this marijuana in Oregon where it's legal. Help me with that. Do you think that she said that I knew what I was doing? Do you think maybe she thought that she was kind of, on the edge of the rules?
She said that she knows, what she did and knew that what she was doing was, not illegal in the state, but for, track and field. And that's another problem that we have is that with not all of the states being legal, and some of the states are, in sports, you could be in a state previously, like the NFL, where the state where you play football in is legal, but in the NFL rules, you could get caught and it could be severely punished for weed. They've laxed those rules just because common sense, but in track and field, that's still that kind of loophole that's kind of out there.
Tony Covington, what do you make of this? I mean, can you imagine being with a reporter and, you're being interviewed and this reporter tells you, well, I need you to react to the death of your biological mother. They knew that the biological mother didn't raise her. They knew that she came from a background in which, her family was struggling, but she was able to pierce through all of that. Whoa! I mean, you're also a commentator. I mean, you're in the media. How did they ask this question? I mean, what was going on there?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. That probably was not the space to address that. I don't know if the reporter didn't know she knew already, if she didn't know, or I don't know. But it's unfortunate that it happened the way that it happened. It's unfortunate that this young lady will not be able to participate in the Olympics. But as far as dealing and how she processed it and dealt with it. I mean, athletes have had devastating things happen to them before a competition for many years. They've lost relatives, parents immediately before competition, and it was up to them whether they were going to participate in the sport that day or that week or not. But you have to follow the rules, and by the letter of the law, the rules weren't followed. And, while it breaks my heart because I was looking forward to her and Shelley Fraser-Price, you're competing in that 100. The rules just were not followed in this instance. And, I do appreciate and respect the way that she took ownership of it. I hoped that she would get a spot on the relay team, but that didn't happen. But in hindsight, as I think about it, can you really allow her to participate when she didn't follow the rules by the letter of the law? And the other young ladies, I believe Alicia Gardner and Aaliyah Hobbs, did what they had to do to finish in the top six. So it's while you feel for Sha'Carri, she just didn't follow the rules in this instance.
Do you think your background in sports has helped to shape your thinking? It's very interesting. As I've spoken to athletes or former athletes, you all, black and white, I've spoken to any number of people about this. It's about following the rules. And my father is a former athlete. He played football at University of Illinois. He was recruited there to play quarterback and was recruited by the White Sox, Chicago White Sox. He turned down a contract with them and he went to college. Thank you. That's where he married my mom. But, it's interesting that all of you, he talks about the athletics being the even play. It's a level playing field. He said probably that's why you see camaraderie amongst the white and the black athletes and the brown and the yellow and everybody, because you just really admire someone's skills. Because, you might have some other issues creeping in, but either you can play the game or you can't play the game, and the rules are what they are. Do you think that that's helped to shape how you think this?
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, all we want is a fair shake when we go out on the field of competition. You know, you have prepared yourself to play at a high level. I prepared myself to play at a high level, and we did it through hard work. All right. My take was always, you're never going to outwork me. Now, if you beat me on that day, I'm going to beat you on the next one, and we'll go toe-to-toe. But to enhance your skills through some other type of substance, you're not giving me a fair shake. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, that's all I want.
Robert Littell, founder and the senior editor of Black Sports Online. What do you make of the drug testing? Um, I mean, should she have expected that, maybe going into the Olympics, or was this just random?
You should always expect to be tested if you are one of the best. I know they say random drug tests, but you know, we've heard from athletes that will put up a Instagram page of them, you know, working out, and they're looking a little bigger or a little stronger. And next thing they know, they say the next day someone is, you know, knocking at their door. I've heard of athletes who say maybe are middle of the road athletes, but then they have a big game. They have 30 points, or they run for, you know, 150 yards when they're not normally someone that would do that. And then the next day they get a knock, you know, on the door. You know, you talked about Serena Williams, someone that came into a sport that's predominantly white and dominated to the point where it almost seems like, wait a minute, you know, there must be something afoot going on, so we're going to test them more. We've seen boxers who come into the sport, and maybe they're smaller, but they're knocking guys out. So it's that when you're that good, you know, you kind of almost have to expect it, because there's this belief at times that if you're so much better than somebody else, there may be something going on. And I think there's a perpetual stereotype about Black people in general, not just with sports, but throughout society, is that if we're better than our white counterparts, there must be some other reason just beyond the fact, like Tony said, that, you know, you just work harder, or that you're just more gifted, or that you're just more intelligent, or that you just, you know, are better at it. It has to be something unnatural. So, yeah, I think you kind of have to, you know, expect to be treated a little bit, you know, differently, because that's just a microcosm of society for Black people that, you know, are you know, exceptional.
But you know, Robert Littell, of Black Sports Online. When we come back, I want to talk with you about that. I mean, because Serena Williams has been tested twice more than the other athletes on her tour. I mean, what is that? And you know what? I have a lot of admiration for this young lady, for Sha'Carri, Sha'Carri Richardson, because you know what? She did something that many of us are not mature enough to do. She took full responsibility. But let's be very clear. This woman runs out of breath for a living. Most of us don't want to take a flight of stairs. She is one of the top athletes in the world. 15. She's tough, real tough. What do you think the future looks like for her? I think it looks really, really, really bright. But I want to know what you think about this case. Should she have been allowed to be on the relay team? Yes or no? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. I'm so glad you all are here. C.K. Hoffel, you're there?
Peter, good morning. I am here. Oh. I am going to have to leave pretty soon.
I'm going to let you get right into it.
Speaking of athletes, you know, I'm here with my son.
Tell him about your baby.
Well, he's going to be playing, you know, football for Kansas State. And so he's here at the school. I brought him to college. He was injured at the middle of last year. Mm-hmm. And so he had surgery. So he did his rehab. He's done 5 or 6 months, and he's doing the conditioning today, so that they can determine, you know, if he's going to play aggressively or if they will, because he's been, when you have major surgery like that, you don't want to get them in prematurely. But either way, he's going to play. But the only question is, he going to play this first season or not? But what's exciting for him is that, he earned 34 full scholarship offers during COVID, and based on his film, because he was not able to visit the schools. He's here. He selected Kansas State. Well, they pursued him so aggressively, but he wanted to be at a place where people wanted him. And he's learning the business. As I said, this is a job. When there's nothing for free. When you get this opportunity, they're expecting you to perform academically and athletically. So I'm watching my baby become a man to me overnight. So, so he's got some training this morning that I'm going to go observe, and I met with his academic folks yesterday. So that's a big step for me. I'm an older mother. Had both my boys after an age that I don't even admit to being today. And put it that way. I say I'm 37, and hypothetically I had my kids after the age of 37. But this is all very relevant to me, this discussion. It really, really is, because there are always going to be two sets of rules for us. The discrimination part I don't like, but you got to follow the rules. So I feel so badly for this young woman. I feel so badly. I applaud her, and I know there's another chapter for her where she's going to do extremely well, because sometimes you got to fall and get back up and nail it, and that's what she needs to do. Get back up and nail it. She made a mistake. She made a big mistake. It's how you get back up that counts in a situation like this, and I think she's done it admirably. She admitted she wasn't hemming and hawing, and that's why I think there's going to be another better day for her, where she's learned her lesson, because she can roll. She is going to be and is the most stellar track star this world has ever seen. So I hope that she there's nothing really that can be done, because she did violate the rules. We can't make an exception for her in this instance. But I would say to her, as a woman, as a Black woman, what she needs to do is get back up, put lotion on her knees, shake it off, and go to the next level, because she is world-class talent.
Well, she said,
and no one's going to be able to do it. I would be, if I were training harder, doing better for the next time.
Well, and look at self-sabotage, right? She said, I knew what I was doing. So there's a lot going on there. But I think that I think she's unafraid to look at it, and that's what makes me feel so good about her. She's...
Me too. But that doesn't excuse to me the discrimination that happens to a Black.
Well, when we come back, we'll come back in 10 seconds. So I want you to go into that, and you can share with with the broader audience, what you are looking at with your son playing major college football. And you should talk to Tony Covington, because he played UVA. He played at UVA. Right.
This is the Santita Show.
Determined, unstoppable, achieving the impossible. We're standing tall with our heads held high. We are victorious.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, Wednesday, July 7th, 2021. WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. What do you make of the Sha'Carri Richardson case? What do you make of it? Of course, we have been talking with Robert Littal, the founder and senior editor of Black Sports Online. Everybody become a member, because if you want some great reporting, if you want great opinions, wonderful insight into all of sport, you can get it at Black Sports Online. And of course, Tony Covington, former UVA footballer. That's right. He is a Cavalier, and he's an NFL vet. And he has a podcast, the lockdown, everybody. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss it because he's going to be talking about this today. And in fact, your podcast comes on when, Tony?
Comes out every Thursday, usually found on Locker Room Access, Apple, or Spotify.
Okay, everybody, the lockdown, please get involved. And of course, the book, I Am Underdog, A Journey of Adversity and Blessings. And he has some insights, I think, into what people do when they're competing. But also, he's had to overcome a whole lot in his life. And he has kept on rising at every turn. He's gone from strength to strength to strength. Everybody, brilliant motivational speaker and husband and father and mentor. And of course, we have someone else for you to mentor, Tony Covington, the son of our own people's attorney, the president of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest black bar association in the world, and the chair of Rainbow Push, attorney C.K. Hoffler. She is in Kansas because her son is playing college football. Congratulations, CK.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Santita. And yes, Tony, I look forward to you mentoring him and my younger son, who's who's ranked a 4-star football player. He's 6'5" and 245 pounds, who's being heavily recruited and a very, very scholarly athlete. So I welcome all the mentoring, guidance, and prayers for my children.
What do you make of this, CK?
Santita, first of all, thank you for having this discussion. I'm here at Kansas State, and this is on my mind. It plays heavily. I think this young lady made a mistake. She made a mistake. She owned up to the mistake. She fessed up to the mistake, and she needs to look forward. The rules cannot be changed for her because these are the rules of engagement. When you're an athlete, when you're a lawyer, when you're in any profession, there's certain rules that you've got to live by. And if you don't, you have to suffer the consequences. And I think that is what's happening here. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because she is stellar. She is probably the fastest woman in the world. And there is another chapter for her. That's the great news. So I think I feel badly for her, but I don't think the rules can be changed. She knew what she was doing was not permissible. It's not whether it's right or wrong. It wasn't permissible per the rules. And she did it. And I do feel for her. Bad journalism, yes, and sensitive journalism, but I don't want to confuse those issues. Mm-hmm. But I do distinguish between that and discrimination with black athletes in testing. There should be one set of rules. Same thing we encounter everywhere. And those rules should not mean that some people are tested more than others. I think that is discrimination. But I do think that if you choose to do that, you must be prepared mentally and physically. And if you're stellar, you must be prepared mentally and physically that they are going to look at you more if you are African American, because there is always unconscious bias. People sometimes don't even realize it, whether it's in a structured sport with the NCAA or whatever. There's unconscious bias, and it's not right, but it is. And I think it's great that there are some of our great stellar examples who are speaking out about this, but we cannot, that is the very reason why we can't make an exception in this case with this exceptionally talented young woman, because we have to play by the rules, but we have to insist that there be one set of rules.
Do you think that there's one set of rules? I mean, I know I'm spreading this out, but I'm looking at Serena Williams and what some NFL players have said.
I don't think they're one set of rules.
Okay.
I don't think they're one set of rules. I think they're 2.5 sets of rules. So, you got 2 sets of rules. No, really, I really do. And so, no, they're not one set of rules. And that's what we should speak out against. But we can't make an exception for this young woman. We can feel for her, support her, give her the tools of success because she is phenomenal and stellar and is going to continue this trajectory upward. But we have to insist that there be a level playing field, just as we do with police brutality, voter suppression. There should be one set of rules for athletes, black or white, stellar or not. Either all of them are tested on the same level or none of them are tested. I would submit they all need to be tested on the same level. Because otherwise there could be legal challenges. I don't know if anyone's going to bring them, but there could be, and it should not be this way.
But it doesn't appear to, in her defense, she doesn't appear to be, she's unapologetic. She's apologized, but she is not trying. She has not tried to force her way onto the team. She did not lobby to become part of the relays, Tony Covington. I mean, she just said, you know what? My bad. I knew what I was doing. Okay, CK.
And that's why she's going to be successful.
What's the teachable
Because
moment
it's
for
her
your
attitude.
sons? What would I know
The
you've got to
teachable
go
moment.
this morning, but is this a teachable moment for your sons who are highly competitive sports at the really at the top levels?
It is and has been, which is you got to play by the rules. If you're going to play this game, if you're going to perform at optimal levels, play by the rules. Don't let anyone take anything away from you, but don't give anything away because of making foolish decisions, bad decisions, even though you're teenagers or young adults.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand the rules and play by the rules and pray. Play by the rules and pray. That's a teachable moment.
Attorney C.K. Hoffler, I know you've got to leave in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
What else would you like to say?
I'd like to say we need to pray and help this young woman go to the next level. She's certainly deserving. She's a superstar, and we need to surround and embrace her and give her the tools of success.
Mm-hmm.
Give her the tools of success, because you got to have mind, body, spirit, and of course, this extraordinary athleticism. But we must support her.
Attorney C.K. Hoffler, now today, the mama of a footballer at Kansas State. Love it. So proud of this baby. I was trying to figure out where all the time went, CK. Whoa. Woo.
I know.
I just can't believe it. Yep. But congratulations to your family, because what an accomplishment this is. What an accomplishment.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bless your heart. Thank you. We're going to let the people of Kansas State, Tony Covington and Robert Littell, know they better watch out. Because CK's a heck of a lawyer. Shit, they better be on their P's and Q's. She is not the one. Oh my gosh. So what do you make playing by the rules? I mean, is there anything that should be done going forward, Robert Littell? I mean, should these policies be reexamined? Because it just seems I wish I'd asked CK this. It's like we were in a it's not a gray area. I mean, she said, I think as I was reading different stories, one got the impression that there was some kind of gray area because she was smoking marijuana in a state where smoking marijuana is legal, where you have dispensaries where people are now, this is a business for a lot of people and they are making a lot of money. Lital, going forward, what do you think can be done, should be done about this rule as it applies to marijuana, which more and more players and more of these top level athletes have said, well, recreationally, I do this on my off time. But see, I'm like, but they don't roll up on your front yard and test you like they did with Serena. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was telling someone that she is going to be sort of like Josh Gordon in the NFL, where he kept getting suspended, for weed, and people kept saying that why it's weed, is not a performance enhancer, and then they ended up changing or lessening the punishment for that. But that didn't help him because he had already suffered, for it. And I think that's kind of where we're going here. I don't think in the short term this doesn't do anything for her, but her case is going to be the preface for the change. I think by the time we get to the next Olympics, maybe even the next World Championships, I think you're going to see this rule change, either where weed is just taken totally out, or there's just maybe a warning or something for first offense. It's going to be basically Miss Richardson. Her situation is what's going to make the change for the long term. But unfortunately, that just doesn't help her in the short term.
How should we look at this, Tony Covington? I mean, should people say, well, it's only marijuana? I mean, I realize it's legal now, but hey, I put it out there. I am not a proponent of its use. I'm not. Now, am I condemning people or judging people who do use it? No. I just, I just don't think that there's a whole lot of good that can come of it. You know, my father and mother have been very, very anti-drug people, you know, and I am too. Like, just because your parents raise you a certain way doesn't mean that you have to think that way too. And I'm wondering about the impact that this could have on the culture. But I don't want to see these athletes. I don't want to see people go to jail for this. I don't want to see you lose your spot on a team or on, you know, I don't want you to lose a chance at an Olympiad because you smoked marijuana. Tony, where is this
Yeah, I
going?
mean, unfortunately, you can't just say it's just weed when you're talking about a high level competition. You just can't. You know, until they change the rules and make it acceptable during competition or, you know, during that time of training or what have you, until they make that change, you can't just say it's just weed because it's just against the rules. You know, until they change the rules, you have to follow them. And, you know, the more and more states are legalizing it. You know, it's amazing how many kids and adults have been put in prison as a result of weed, you know, and so no one was crying. It was just weed then, you know, and so unless they're going to make household changes with weed and its legalization, I don't think you can just run behind it's just weed anymore.
Well, where is this going? I mean, do you see them moving forward, perhaps relaxing the rules on marijuana, or where would you feel comfortable as an athlete seeing this go? I mean, Tony, where should this go?
Well, my thought is that from what I've understood it, you know, in talking to individuals who play sports, they have used weed to help heal injuries, help with mental health. And, you know, I don't know, you know, when it comes to that, yeah, I just know what I've heard. Don't know if it helps you in competition. Yeah, I mean, does it make you more relaxed? I don't know. Does it give you a fair advantage, an unfair advantage? Not in a performance enhancing state, I imagine. But you know, if it's a calming drug, then does it make you relax a little more? Does it not make you feel those jitters at the beginning of competition? Does it make you get into a starting block and not be nervous and just go because you feel free and you're relaxed? Does it help? Those things I don't know, and it will never profess to say, "Hey, this is the way it works." But I do think there needs to be some type of they have to address how they're going to deal with marijuana because from what I understand, its healing qualities has helped a number of different athletes. If it's not a performance enhancer, if it's strictly just a light recreational drug, if it's not addictive, then, you know, could you relax it? But then if it is addictive, does it lead you to more things? So, I mean, it's kind of six in one hand, six in the other, because you know, I just don't know. Does it start a snowball effect if you allow it, and then it goes to something else? You know, and I think it's a tough call. Needless to say, what I don't want is to have black folks be the ones that are over scrutinized for using it because it's just not us.
But it seems like that's what's happening. She's become the poster child for this, and not other white
Yeah.
athletes. I mean, I read in one of these pieces, thank God she's not a snow. Well, maybe she should have been a snowboarder. I don't know. I mean, you know, because it seems like, you know, it's these high profile sports. Or, I mean, look, Serena and her sister Venus remade the game of women's tennis. I mean, in ways that I must say that Martina Navratilova, I'm a huge tennis fan, and Chris Evert did not do before, although they remade tennis, as did Billie Jean King. I mean, I'm stepping from generation to generation. Not Steffi Graf. No, 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 no. No, I'm saying these girls, these two sisters, completely changed the game. They even made John McEnroe come out of his face and say, "I can beat them." Oh. I was very hurt when he did that because I liked him go back in the 80s. And then the way he attacked them was just like, what are you doing? What's this? Hello? Anyway, I mean, so Robert Littal, I mean, that bothered me, Tony. That did. I was like, this is beneath you. What are you doing? Huh?
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree with you. You know, it's.
Tony, they're rolling up onto Serena's lawn on her grass, knocking on her door. I'm like, wait, she's tested twice more than anybody on the tour. What is that?
Yeah, well, it's, they don't like black excellence. Let's just call it what it is.
Okay.
And they are threatened by black excellence. And when you have athletes like Serena who perform at a high level for a long, sustained period of time, they say something's got to be different, and, she is a woman that's athletically built, strong legs, strong lower body, just extremely athletic. And they look at it like there's no way she could do that. There's no way that genetically she has the skills to be able to do that. And to me, that's questioning her work ethic. When by and large, think about all the years when they talk about, black athletes are just flat out more gifted. You know what? It's not that we're more gifted. We're just more hungry for success. And we're willing to work our tails off to get it done. And while you're sleeping, we're working. And we will not apologize for being great. We refuse to apologize for being great. And so if you feel like you got to drug test us more for us to prove you wrong, then so be it. That's what Serena's like, you know what? Bring it on then. I'm ready. And I'll still continue to be the best that this game has ever seen.
Robert Littal, your comments, your thoughts.
Well, I think, I echo everything that he just said. Is that especially the part where they're afraid of black excellence. I think that's permeated throughout this entire country. And in any time that they feel threatened by us, the actions are extreme. We see that not just in sports, but in politics, with the police, within our communities. And things like that. My whole thing is I hope that Miss Richardson mentally, her mental health is good. One of the issues with track and those type of sports is, the Olympics only come around, every 4 years. And you think 4 years in your mind is not a long time, but it really is. Just think, whatever you were doing 4 years ago to now. And, that's a lot of weight to bear. There's a lot of different things that could happen, within that time period. It's not like a lot of other sports where if you get suspended for a game or 10 games or whatever it may be, you're coming back and you can kind of redeem yourself really quickly. This is a long time before she can get that Olympic moment again. So I do hope that there's people around her, that she has a great support group. Obviously, from afar, her people are supporting her. But in those quiet moments when she's alone and she's just with family and friends, that she has the right people around her. So her mental health is where it needs to be, because, that's something, especially with athletes and just black people in general. A lot of times people don't see that side, of it. So I am glad everyone is giving her support and giving her love. Because it's going to be a long 4 years. But if she can make it, the story will be amazing. Actually, in this case, I guess it would be 3 years, because we kind of lost that 1 year. It'd be amazing to see her flourish and come back from this. It'll be a great story down the line, and it's something that they'll be talking about for a very long period of time.
Well, I mean, Tony Covington, what about her support group? Because our parents' generation, if you saw a black person, given the level of oppression under which we've had to live, if you saw them with promise, you stop them from doing things that could hurt them, right? You would say, no, don't do that now, because you've got this big chance. Do you think that she maybe should be looking at that too? Although she accepted, she is the one who took the responsibility for this. She said, I did it. I did it. I did it. What do you think she should be looking at now? How can she stay hungry for the next Olympiad?
Well, what you're talking about is having that village, and we all had that village. I mean, if you at home and the neighbor watching you or mom and dad at work and you cut up, the neighbor had carte blanche to, hey, if I got to make sure I paddle that behind, and then I'm gonna tell your mama when she get home, that was the village surrounding you. When coming home from college, hanging out with my friends, and something's about to jump off, they look at me like, yo, man, you need to go. And I'm like, oh, man, but I'm hanging out with y'all. They're like, yo, I said head home, because it was they sensed danger. They did not want me around it. That was my village. And so my hope that she has that village around her. At the end of the day, Sha'Carri has another underdog story. We all have underdog stories of things that we have gone through and overcome them to get where we are. This will be her underdog story. And when she comes back to the next competition, the thing about track, you've got competitions year round, in the States, overseas. So she's going to have a chance to continue to be the best. I think she said it best. Hey, I won't be your Olympian this year, but I'll continue to be your world champion. And so I think this is going to be a driver for her to continue the excellence. It's tainted just a bit, but I think through doing things the right way, winning in competition, being an advocate while she's out there, because to whom much is given, much is required. And so the spotlight is going to be on her for a minute. So her village needs to be surrounding her. It needs to be a tight one. Don't let everyone in your circle, because everybody is not for you. So be strong and be solid about who you have in your circle, and just go out and kill the game, And then when you're talking about this underdog part of your life, hey, you're like, when it all fell down, I continued to chase greatness, and that's what got me through.
That's why you need to get the book, I Am Underdog, A Journey of Adversity and Blessings, because really that's what this is, and that's what life is for everybody. Robert Littal, founder of Black Sports Online, I have got a minute, and it belongs to you.
Well, I think this is just a good, life lesson, is that as Black people, we always, as my uncle told me, when we walk out the door, we're already down 14-0. We're already working, at a deficit. I mean, just the criminalization of weed is something that they used to put, Black men and women in jail for years. And, that's trickled down to, now to the Olympic level. I think it's a good lesson for everyone. I am praying for Sha'Carri that she, comes through this okay mentally with the big comeback and everything, and just understand that, it's unfortunate, but it's a reality that, if we are doing things in life, there are going to be situations and rules that have been put in place to try to hold us down.
1 minute.
And we have to overcome those and navigate those the best that we can do.
And know the difference between rules that hold you down and rules that can hold you up. I'm praying for Sha'Carri Richardson. I think that she has got a magnificent future. That's even more magnificent because of the obstacles that she's had to overcome. That's even brighter because of what some people in the world view as darkness. I view this as an opportunity for this young woman, and I hope she seizes it. We all mess up. We all fall down. Do we all get up? No, we don't. Some of us get stuck. She didn't do that. She accepted responsibility. She said, I did it.
15.
I apologize for anyone I've disappointed, but I did it, and I accept responsibility for it. I just hope that she will not self-harm, that she will not self-injure. I hope that she will continue to see the magnificence that is that girl, Sha'Carri Richardson. We all have some Sha'Carri in us. Everybody, be victorious. I'm Santita Jackson. May God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Tony Covington.
Yes.
All right. And Robert Littal, I want you all, before we get out, we're still on Facebook Live. I want you to tell people how they can see you, hear you. The lockdown, the podcast. You're going to be talking about what this week?
Yeah, so we have part 2 with Thomas Jones, former running back for the Arizona Cardinals, Chicago, Tampa Bay and Kansas City, and he's an actor now doing great things in this space. So we talk a little bit about his movie career, and we actually finished our segment talking about Sha'Carri Richardson and the thoughts of our black athletes. Tested infrequently. Is there a bit of discrimination that goes with that? And so yeah, you can find us on the Locker Room Access, Spotify, and Apple Music under the Lockdown, featuring T Cub from Ball Hawk. Yeah, so we're out there doing our thing, and it's about having those conversations, and our podcast is surrounding a lot of former UVA football players, coaches, and some wives who have impacted the program. But we get into their careers. They tell their narrative. We give them that platform to do so, and we talk about things that they're doing now and how they have a desire to impact the communities that they live in and serve.
This is wonderful. The Lockdown, everybody. You don't want to miss that podcast. For all these sports fans out there, go on and go for it. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online. What is it exactly? What is Black Sports Online? Describe it to people. I know I have my own description, my understanding of it.
Well, it was created, to give, when we started, to give minority reporters an online outlet for them to kind of talk about mainstream sports, because those opportunities weren't really available to us in the online space when I started. And we kind of evolved from that to, really doing sports and sports entertainment, a lot of social justice over the last few years, holding media accountable for their actions, within the space as well. We are very big on social media at BSO on Twitter, Black Sports Online on Facebook, and BSO TV on Instagram. Just in the present, we're right on top of the situation that's happening with Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor over at ESPN.
Will you come back and talk about that?
Yeah. So we've been kind of all over that, making sure we're covering all sides of that, as well as the NBA finals and whatever else is going on in the world of sports and sports entertainment. But it's basically to give a voice to our people, in this case now going into 2021, on a mainstream media, platform, where we can kind of, say things and talk about things that maybe, others cannot. So I really appreciate you having me on and giving me an opportunity to speak about Ms. Richardson. And like I said, I'd love to come back on and talk about whatever needs to be talked about to get those messages out there.
Well, I want to know what's happening at ESPN. I really, really do. I mean, everybody wants to know about that. And, and whether these women who are really trying to make it in, if you will, a man's world, thank you, James Brown, if fighting each other is the thing. But, in that conversation, you heard a woman who's fighting for her position, but you also heard white solidarity. You heard a lot going on in that. And I'd really like to take that apart. I'd like to unpack that. And I'd love for you to participate in that. And you too, Tony, because you're a commentator now. Really. I think that we need to really unpack this, because now we're all seeing a world that our parents really fought for. Okay. And it's a world, quite frankly, whites didn't expect, and black people, many blacks didn't expect it either. So we've all got to have a reset on our expectations and dreams and aspirations. Maybe, white people never expected to have this kind of competition for their jobs, but these are not your jobs. Not while you got black folks playing on the field. No. And it's a sport. People get involved. And people should be able to report on them, male, female, black, white, brown, yellow, red, and from all different backgrounds, because we all have something different that we see that we can bring to analysis. So I'm very, very interested in that. And Richard Marks, I wanted to just address you by looking at the greatness of the Williams sisters, and I certainly did not imply that, and I don't think you inferred that. I was not diminishing Chris Evert and Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King did a reset on tennis. She brought an athleticism to women's tennis that heretofore had not been seen. Maybe since Althea Gibson, maybe. But she did a reset. And Chrissy Everett, in a very genteel way, did the same thing. And then when Martina Navratilova came barreling down the tracks, and that is what she did. She was this hugely talented, she was big, she was a little overweight, but she was so hugely talented and so emotional. Nancy Lieberman, the famous basketball player, took her under her wing and became her trainer and coach. Not just her tennis coach, but her life coach. She slimmed down. She trained athletically in a whole different way, weightlifting, all of that. And then she did change the game. But then you had a man named Richard Williams, who had never played tennis before, who read books on tennis and took his daughter out into the courts of Compton and made them play him and other boys. And they completely changed the game while the gangs watched over the court so no one would shoot them. That's why Serena gave them a shout out at Wimbledon, because they protected them, because they felt that these girls were going to go somewhere and they wanted to make sure that they did. And I thank those gang members for doing that. I thank them for that. So, you know what, everybody, we all fit somewhere. That's something that I learned in church. And so Robert Littell and Tony Covington, if you'd like to say anything further before we go, certainly Robert Littell, let people know once again how they can be in touch with you at Black Sports Online. We want you to have as big an audience as is possible, because it is great. Robert Littell?
So I appreciate you. Anyone can get in touch with me on blacksportsonline.com. There's a contact page, and like I said, my social media at BSO on Twitter, Black Sports Online on Facebook, or BSO TV on Instagram. Very open to talk to anyone or help anyone that needs help within the industry, and to try to keep this thing going. So once again, I appreciate you having me on. It's definitely a pleasure and an honor. And anytime that you need me, please just let me know.
Oh, you'll be hearing from me like I had to shock Tony last night. He said, "What does she want?" Oh, here we go. One more time. What? How can we see this podcast?
Oh, you got personal privilege.
Thank you. But tell me, how can we see the lockdown once again, your podcast?
Yeah, you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, or Locker Room Access. You catch me on Twitter, Instagram at TCov is underdog. Then you go to my website, TonyLCovington.com. Got some things really brewing. Started my nonprofit last November. I'm Underdog Inc. And so, we're really looking to do some things in the life skills development for student athletes and helping these athletes be better and greater as they move forward. And for me, thought I did things the right way, and ultimately they could always be done better. So I want to make sure that I'm mentoring these guys and helping them teach the next generation.
Tony Covington, I Am Underdog, everybody. You need to get this book, and I wish we could send it to this beautiful Shakari. I wish we could. I Am Underdog, A Journey of Adversity and Blessings. Because indeed, this is a journey of adversity and blessings. Even if they're self-imposed, everybody, come on. So what? I know I've self-sabotaged. I'm at the front of the line on that. And, we're all working through some things. And I think that you can, as my father has said to me, you talk about a comeback. That can be better than where you were where you started, everybody. So, just think about that. We all want to see the encore of this performance, and we want her to succeed. And everyone, every Shakari, we want to see all of them succeed. Tony Covington, I'm sending you much love. Robert Littell, sending you much love. Thank you so much.
So thank you. You guys have a good day.
Thank you for having us.
Much love, everybody. The Lockdown podcast and Black Sports Online, everybody. Don't miss it, get involved. Listen to the Lockdown podcast. I know it's going to be great. And Black Sports Online, some of the greatest reporting that exists in all of sport. I'm Santita Jackson. May God bless you. Thank you, Paul, for a great show. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you, everybody.